Hello everybody, welcome to Planet Sky FF.
It's an interesting start, sir. How are you?
Hear me now. In the words of Ali G, I am doing okay. Sky FF, where the world revolves around £50,000. It still revolves around 50 grand.
But what have you done for me lately?
Yeah. Ali G was a legend.
Are you any closer?
Not
to Ali G, but to £50,000.
I thought I had a reasonable game week, but obviously it was quite a monster game week for a lot of people. But do you know what? I think the difference here, 10 points in Sky is much less than 10 points in FPL, for example. Like a difference of 10 points. It's one captain versus not. So, yeah, I feel it was okay. I scored 107 points in my main team. Takes me up to 429 overall points, not rank, obviously.
I don't think anybody was believing that for a second, were they?
Yeah. And my second team scored 113 as well, so both did okay. That's up to 399 points. I think we're just in the pack is how I would describe it at the moment. 15k and 20k, something like that.
Yeah,
rank.
in the pack is absolutely fine. 137 for my main team this week. 122 for the dead B team. So yeah, really pleased with that. Jumped up to about 11k. Just an interesting thing I was looking for, because I shared this with the guys on our Slack channel on either Sunday or Monday. There was one guy who, in the overall leaderboard, his A and his B team were in the top 5.
Wow.
Then we were having a bit of a guessing game in terms of how many transfers we thought this guy had probably used so far.
Yeah.
It's probably somewhere between 60 and 70. Interestingly, I'm on
60 and 70.
What's that?
Transfers.
Yeah, between both the two
between
teams.
both teams. Okay, yeah, understand.
Yeah,
so
so
about
like
25 each.
Basically, more, probably even 30, I think, possibly, because we could see that he made all 5 again on Sunday in one of the teams, which was open, but the other one was locked out. But I was looking through some of the mini leagues I'm in. Now, the top score overall at the moment is 676 points. In all the mini leagues I'm in, which includes like Fantasy Football Hub, some stuff we've been doing with other Sky guys, patrons, etc. The top score of any league I'm in at the moment, I believe, is 544.
Okay, which significantly less than the big boys.
This gives you an indication, a real indication, that don't worry about that 640 or whatever's in first at the moment.
550 is probably where it's at.
Correct, as probably tops right now. So as Paul McNulty said on Hub on Sunday, like, just don't even worry. These guys ain't going to be competing with us at the end of the season. Mm-hmm. They've got that lead, but it's all going to go Pete Tong. Like things go Pete Tong when you do an overhaul and your best defender in the game gets injured for the rest of the season. Of
course, we'll be talking about him. Let's talk about the best midfielder in the game first. Before the weekend, we obviously knew that Kevin De Bruyne was going to be out. So what was your solution to the problem? What did you do in the end with Kevin De Bruyne?
The solution was reluctant that I went to Bruno Fernandes. And then having gone reluctant, I went, bollocks, I'll stick the armband on as well.
And it turned into, that was probably the difference between our scores this week, was what Bruno did.
So yeah, left myself in a position with no Man City, just one Liverpool in Van Dijk. So I'm now sitting there with no Man City or no Liverpool, when obviously they're the best captaincy options for Saturday. And I'll probably captain Bruno again now, just because of what he's capable in this game. The main reluctance with Bruno was, to be honest, I was a little nervous that he wasn't going to play, because I knew that he had to shake something up from the Tottenham game in match day 4. And I kind of thought that they would possibly play a diamond. Now, if they played a diamond, it would be Fernandes at the tip of that, and that's what kind of convinced me to stay with it. They didn't. They played the similar system. Obviously, Fernandes played where he usually played. Interestingly, they played back 3/back 5 in Paris last night, and Fernandes played behind a front 2 of Martial and Rashford. And there might be a leaning towards this. They need to sort out the midfield problem. I know everyone's banging on about them defensively, but they have a big problem in midfield at the moment without the ball. And the protection of the 5 defensively. We've seen United do this a lot in more high-profile games. It's common knowledge that they're better off almost without the ball, in spite of the fact they have good technicians like Rashford, Pogba, Fernandes. So the solution was Fernandes in, and then obviously the reworking of the plan to go Jimenez to De Bruyne. But they've also left it opened up where it could be Jimenez to Aguero. Or if the Friday night in match day 8 is really bad, Jimenez to Danny Ings. Or if I decide I want to go without City for longer, i.e. if De Bruyne's not fit, Jimenez to Calvert-Lewin. All them options are potentially open to me. And I'll be doing that after the Wolves Crystal Palace game Friday week.
I ended up... there was a couple of things I didn't like in my team, and I wanted to spread over as many clubs as I could. I had double Liverpool, Salah and Van Dijk, and I had double Everton, James and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So I saw it as an opportunity to fix my double Everton that I didn't want, to give me the most coverage of captains, and ended up replacing Dominic Calvert-Lewin with Raheem Sterling as my City coverage. And then instead of Kevin De Bruyne, I managed to bring in Christian Pulisic, which gave me just enough money that if I needed to go from Sterling back to De Bruyne and play a 3-5-2, I could. And obviously other injuries are going to play havoc in that as well. So I ended up going with Sterling. And we got a goal and man of the match, 10 points. Can't really complain with that. And he's got another good fixture this week with West Ham. So happy to have Sterling in there. Pulisic was a disappointment, but if you take the popular advice from everybody, he will come good. So happy to leave him in there as well. And then in a couple of weeks, depending on how I feel, I could go from Salah to De Bruyne or Sterling to De Bruyne. I've got options there basically in what direction I want to take it. So I'm okay with that. I feel okay for this week. Pretty decent.
You ain't got Van Dijk, have you?
Yes, I have.
You have.
I own Van Dijk.
So what's your thinking?
So this is the most talked about topic right now. I also own Mikel Antonio. So it's never in isolation, right? The thing you always talk about with Sky is what's the next transfer out. So I am a little concerned with Antonio. And I don't know, but the thing is, you're right. Like, I mean, we talked about it. Antonio's next 2 games are City and Liverpool. Would I have expected much anyway? Maybe not. Maybe I'm better off just riding it out and not downgrading him. But if I took the view to downgrade Van Dijk to a much cheaper defender, then it would be Konsa, because I didn't take Martinez in goal. So Konsa's fine, and that will give me enough money to turn Antonio into Bruno Fernandes, which has real potential. Or I just make the sideways move to Robertson. It's going to be one or the other. And I'm just not sure whether I want to burn 2 transfers to get Antonio to Fernandes as well as Van Dijk to Konsa. I can do one at a time. Right? I don't need to do both straight away. Although, we should see.
Antonio will stay for me unless Moyes was to rule him out till the international break. And then therefore missing obviously that important Fulham fixture where he really does look like a good captaincy option potentially. So I think it would take that if Moyes says Antonio's out this week but he might be back for Liverpool next week, I think I would just leave it.
I'm inclined to as well. I don't want to burn transfers if I don't need to.
On Van Dijk, there was obviously a lot of thinking Sunday and Monday in terms of potential replacements. I spoke to you about potentially Wolves assets. A lot of the guys listening will have Patricio, so probably wouldn't have considered it. Wolves assets on the Monday about, if Marcal can find his way back into the team.
Yeah.
And 8 Nori at 5.5. 8 Nori at 5.5 for me would have basically meant I could get the top 7 midfielders and forwards with my lineup. So I did look at playing with that as a suggestion, an idea. Obviously, it didn't help that because we got box office at the moment, we had to deal with the West Brom Burnley team news instead. So, having not known, couldn't do it. Konsa was the one I really thought about for Sunday. Agree with that. I feel, I've got Lamptey and Dallas. Dallas is if you're not on, the guy's getting tackle bonus every fucking game at the moment.
Yeah.
Lamptey of Brighton is in. I think Brighton, genuinely, I did a bit on yesterday's Planet FPL about how I feel their defensive numbers will really improve in upcoming game weeks. So that's fine. So for me, with Brighton and Leeds on board, Gator in goal from Palace, who've also got a long sustained run, as we know, you start looking at the budget ops, and it was kind of Villa or Wolves for me. Wolves, no knowledge of what's happening. So Konsa, easy fallback for Villa. But they're just nagging away at me the fact that I had Grealish already. I'm thinking, I'm wasting a potential cover here. And then I'm what am I doing then for Liverpool Man City going forward? I'm then looking at a budget defence and I've got no Liverpool Man City and a front line that at the moment I wouldn't be able to move on. So I think I'll be going Robertson. I like the idea of going that route. One particular reason is value issues. So you go with a backline of, say, Konsa, Lamptey, Dallas, for example, and then it all turns around and we're seeing a lot more clean sheets and it's like, I'm stuck. So I feel like I still need one premium defender in there, even if that be coming down, say, Ruben Diaz's level at 9.1 or 2, I think he is. I still need to have one up there. I think it's easy at the moment to look at just the budget options and think I'll power forward. If you go the three budget defenders, for example, Lamptey, Konsa, Dallas, generally you can nearly fit in Kane, Salah, Aguero, De Bruyne, Fernandes, Grealish, Pulisic.
Yeah.
You could very nearly do it. You might even be able to do it.
You probably can do even a little better than that. I mean, Grealish is fairly cheap. You could get James Rodriguez in there or what have you. There's a lot of good options, and these budget enablers are offering tackle tier, pass tier points as well.
But it's only Dallas, really. That's the point. So the Konsas, the Lampteys, to be honest, anything on top of a clean sheet for them is going to come in an attacking return at the moment.
Yeah.
Ayling was only a 1-pointer on Monday night, so anybody who's on the 2, Ayling's really good option as well, by the way, at 7 million. It's just, I think Dallas was even more obvious
cheap.
at 6.4,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Between the two. So Dallas is the only one of the real cheap guys who's picking anything up at the moment, and that's the other thing haunting me. If I go to 3 cheapies, and there's no tiering on them, obviously in Dallas there is, but the other 2, you're just sitting there and they're dead. And then if I've shoved the funds, I can't move and I'm stuck. So for me, on my strategy, I think it's important. I've got to get some Liverpool coverage in soonish. I think the loss of Van Dijk is obviously brutal, but also overplayed. Matip and Gomez are not bad centre halves. We're not suddenly talking about them going from best defence in the world to worst. We're talking about they were very good defensively with one outstanding individual. And obviously with Robertson, there's still the obvious attacking output. He's probably worth the saving against Trent at the moment because he just tends to get a bit more on the passing tiers. The other thing on Robertson passing tiers, obviously him and Van Dijk exchange passes a lot. There's a lot of fear about will that stop. Whoever plays left-sided centre-half
still
for
passing
Liverpool,
the ball.
yes, he's still going to pass him the ball. He's also still going to be right-footed.
Yeah.
So naturally, he's still going to go out to him, I think. Whereas from the right-sided centre-half, they tend to punch passes a little bit more into central areas. But from the left centre-back position, they don't. So I don't think there's too much concern there. So Robertson, for me, yes, there was no gains on the fixture, which, look, if I'd got a Konsa in, I could have had the clean sheet and stuff. He's the right move for me.
Yes, I think that's not a bad shout. It's not a bad shout.
I may end up. It's Andy Robertson.
I may make the same move if I decide I'm not going to use a second transfer for Antonio, and I'm happy to ride it out. But again, with no price rises or changes in this, we can ride it out. How did Ruben Diaz do on the weekend? Did he pick up any tiering points?
No, I don't think so. Interestingly, Gabriel did for Arsenal, ironically. And if you're looking at defenders in and around, I guess we should talk about it now as we're talking about Van Dijk replacements. The middle tier that is not getting spoken about is that sort of Gabriel.
8 million.
I have had a look at sort of defenders, 7-8 million. He does look like the standout. In fact, he's getting passing tier away to Man City. He's good. Must be said, and I cautioned on this last week about Gabriel, is understanding why did he get the passing tiers in the 3 previous games that he'd had, Fulham, West Ham and Sheffield United, and putting a lot of it down to opposition. The fact that he's getting a passing tier against Man City makes you go, ooh. But I do think there was a lot of that in terms of the second half, that neither side particularly pressed the game at all, second half. And Arsenal do still have a difficult run. But if you want to go in defensively at that value, he's probably the call, because a passing tier in each game, I mean, we're talking about defenders not getting many at the moment. He obviously is getting passing tiers. The flip of that concern would be Holding was meant to play instead of David Luiz, pulled out with an injury before the game, so David Luiz came in. Why did that preference happen? Gabriel didn't play at Liverpool. Why was that the case? And Pablo Mari is also nearing fitness as well. So if they're going to move towards a back four, which a lot of us have thought for a long time they will, it's 2 out of 4. And I don't think we have the clear identity of what the favourite 2 is.
No.
I think Gabriel is now first choice, and one of the main reasons for that being is that he's very comfortable playing left-sided. But David Luiz has spent the majority of his career playing left-sided centre-half as well, even though he's right-footed. I think Gabriel would be safe, generally speaking, but it's something you'd need to be conscious and aware of. He's an option. Around that between sort of 7-9 bracket, he's probably the best choice. And obviously would give you a coverage for Arsenal, which many of us won't have at the moment. Fixtures aren't great, though, for a while. Next few are Leicester, Manchester United, Villa, Leeds, Wolves, Tottenham. That's the next 6. It's not brilliant.
No, but look, in a game like Wolves, for example, you can see Wolves letting Arsenal have the ball, and he'll pick up its passing tiers, no problem at all.
He'll have 100 passes against Wolves, yeah.
So, the fixtures are tough. Maybe there won't be many clean sheets. They might leak the odd goal here or there, but I think Gabriel's not a bad shout either.
I actually think, in spite of them fixtures, I spoke about it a bit yesterday, I think like they're actually one of the best defensive sides at the moment, which isn't saying much, and you should be cautious of that. But I think they're becoming quite a defensive side in terms of they're very much set up to exploit the left-hand side, particularly through Aubameyang, and also if obviously Saka's playing that side as well. They're built up to counter-attack. So defensively, they've definitely improved defensively since Arteta came in. Even if some of the numbers don't suggest it, they still concede a lot of shots on goal. But I think they're improving defensively.
Fair play. Captains for the week, James.
Well, by default, I'm probably going to land on Bruno Fernandes this week, I think.
Well, he's not playing on Friday night, so let's start with Friday.
Oh, yeah, Friday night.
Friday night football's back.
Friday night would be Jack Grealish for me.
Yeah, I've got Grealish and Dallas, but I think Grealish makes sense.
It's just worth the gamble because of the potential ceiling.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be played in Dallas is probably going to get you 5 points again. Obviously, if he gets you a clean sheet, you're looking at 11-pointer, great. Jack Grealish is absolutely flying at the moment.
And the
almost
ownership
say
on Grealish for captain on Friday night is going to be huge.
The thing is as well, you say Dallas will start on 5 points with a tackle tier. If Villa win, Grealish starts on the man of the match as well, basically, right?
Yeah,
so
crazy.
So you could they're both decent choices. I would favour Grealish because of the potential of what it could be. I think it'll be quite a low scoring game actually, but I wouldn't envisage a clean sheet for either. I could see it being 1-1 or so actually, but I'll go with Grealish.
What about Saturday? You don't have any City or Liverpool coverage unless obviously you buy Robertson for Van Dijk. Sheffield United, you'd almost bank on a clean sheet there. The odds must be decent.
It would have to be Robertson or Bruno for me. And again, I think I'd just lean into Bruno. Although you look at Robertson, you think, I mean, if any game looks like a clean sheet, in spite of everything we're saying about Liverpool, Sheffield United at home, you look at it and think, yeah, I can see the clean sheet there. So I just need to weigh up if I think Bruno's capability can punch beyond that. I think I will probably go Bruno. I'll also be looking at it at the moment as well and thinking, do you know what? There'd be a lot of Liverpool guys without defensive. And so the clean sheet in itself would almost possibly fall as a bit of a differential at the moment. I think a lot of people are going to come off Van Dijk and look at cheaper. If they stay in Liverpool, we're almost definitely going to go to Robertson. To still look at it as a differential, therefore I'd probably go Bruno. The standout choice for me Saturday is Salah. If you've got Mohamed Salah, you're not going to not captain him.
Oh, you say that. I've got Mohamed Salah, but I've also got Raheem Sterling. And Raheem's got a good fixture against West Ham. He always scores against us.
Did score a hat-trick fixture last season.
Multiple goals, usually, not even just the one. Yeah. So Raheem Sterling is a good shout. I think I'd prefer Raheem if Kevin De Bruyne was playing, but obviously he's not. So I think I'm going to edge towards Salah. But if you own Robertson, then I don't think Robertson is a bad shout ahead of Salah as well, potentially. So
no, not a bad shout.
I'll do the sensible thing and leave the armband on Mo Salah on Saturday.
There'll obviously be others as well. And interestingly, Man City's next 2 games are 12:30 on a Saturday, which are particularly for anybody who's on kind of the Sel Jimenez plan like myself. That's great news to have the Man City team news when they play Sheffield United the following week.
Yes.
But obviously we'll get it this Saturday as well. And I suspect there will be a few who maybe sitting there with, say, a Morpay and Van Dijk injured, and are thinking, well, if I shove that money down now, Morpay to Aguero. But I think the Liverpool guys would still be the best shout
Best
for
shout.
Saturday. I'm probably going to be on Bruno, I think.
What about Sunday?
I think best choice is probably Calvert-Lewin. I will be on Raul Jimenez because it's part of the strategy and the plan. Newcastle, it depends what Newcastle turn up, right? They can turn up like they did at Tottenham and be extremely defensive, and if they do, it's going to be a tough watch if you're a Jimenez owner. It really, really will. Or if they can leave themselves exposed like they did at the end of the game at Old Trafford, and you think about Traore running through and etc., then Jimenez is a decent shout. I think Calvert-Lewin is the best choice. There'll be a real split on Sunday, I think, between Calvert-Lewin, James, maybe even a couple of Danny Ings owners, Jimenez, Aubameyang, Vardy if he's back, maybe Harvey Barnes, maybe. There'll be a real split Sunday, I think.
I've got the choice of two players, Patricio or Rodriguez. I mean, it's going to be James because of the ceiling. But Patricio's off the back of 2 clean sheets with Wolves, and it's Newcastle at home, who aren't what you'd call prolific necessarily. So if I was stuck with just Patricio, I actually wouldn't mind keeping the armband on Rui Patricio on Sunday. But I've got the choice of James Rodriguez. So
it does. It's another one that does look like a banker clean sheet for Wolves.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And to be honest, there's probably a lot of guys are sitting there with Patricio as well. So, yeah, Patricio definitely comes into the conversation. It's okay.
Yeah. And Monday, is it Harry Kane or Harry Kane? Or Harry Kane that you're going to captain?
I might go Harry Kane.
You might?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Harry Kane. I mean, my alternative is Tariq Lamptey, and it's a pretty
That's another nailed clean sheet.
Pretty tough choice there with Lamptey or Kane. But I think, I mean, he wasn't too bad in the last game. He scored a few points. So I think I'll just stick with Harry Kane.
Obviously, look, Maupay, Lamptey, Ben White, who played in midfield against Palace, but I suspect with Dunk's suspension will go back to centre-back, and you got the increased possibility of the passing tier then. Could all be decent shouts as alternatives to Tottenham. Be interested if we get news between now and Monday if Ben Mee has got a chance of playing for Burnley, because as you'll hear on tomorrow's Clash of Correspondence, that will make a real difference to them. We think at the moment that he won't make it. And essentially Burnley have got, we talk about it with Turfy Topper tomorrow, I've already recorded it with him. We talk about basically the idea that at the moment Burnley's 3 of their back 4s playing out of position. And you've got Peters going up against Son as well. So anyone who's got Son rather than Kane, there'll be plenty of listeners who are probably on that. Sonny's absolutely fine as well, right? I think Kane, Son, Maupay would be my preference.
Yep.
Actually, that's wrong. Kane, Son, Bale, Maupay. There's not many who got Bale at the moment, I don't think.
No. And I don't think many will be steaming into him either. Not with the other, because they're all forwards. FPL, you've got the different positions. So.
He's got a decent record at Burnley as well, Harry Kane. He didn't play in the fixture last year. The year before, he just come back from injury and scored. And the year before, he scored a hat-trick over the Christmas period. You might remember he had the back-to-back hat-tricks against Burnley and Southampton. So he's got a good record up there as well. Burnley away with no crowd just doesn't feel as difficult as it would do with Burnley away on a Monday night with a crowd.
And Benby in the back line. So let's answer some Twitter questions, James, from our fellow Sky FF players, regular listeners. Some patrons have jumped in here as well.
Go on.
A few that we have already covered, but I think it would be good to wrap all of these up. Benny Blanco. Benny, I hope you're well up there in Liverpool. I know it's quite tough with the conditions and lockdown and what have you. So, would you consider moving Antonio out short term if he's missing this weekend, or just hold him through because you want him back anyway? We've talked about this. I think, remember, Benny, that obviously it's Man City followed by Liverpool, so there were 2 very tough games anyway. If like James, if we know he's going to be back for Fulham, then I think it's probably worth the hold. And I also don't think he's going to... it didn't look like he was crazy injured, so I'd probably hold. If he's going to be out for longer, then you could consider moving him on.
No consideration to move, like I said, unless he's out to the international break.
Which is game week 8 from an FPL point of view. This is 3 more weeks on top of this, basically.
He's 8 million. He's decent value. He's regularly in the shot tiers. I wouldn't have expected anything out of Man City and Liverpool anyway. I think this is why a lot of people... There'll be many listeners who have probably got the plan in place to get him for that Fulham fixture. One of the reasons I didn't want to go down that route is knowing that there's potentially no gain on getting him in for the fixture, for example. And I just felt with him playing OOP, he was a lock for me, and it just wasn't worth pissing about with the transfer. So no, he would have to get ruled out of that Fulham game for me to move him on, or I'd have to hear, do you know what, he's going to be doubtful for a couple of weeks, enough to make me think, I'll look at this.
Yeah.
Just while I remember it, and we're talking about potential replacements. There's a midfielder that sprung up over the weekend, was talking to you about it on the way in this morning, who's cheap, and this is interesting. Ademola Lookman at Fulham, 6.5 million midfielder. That's decent. He's basically at the moment probably going to play on the left of a front three / 4-2-3-1, generally speaking. They've got 2 home fixtures coming up against Palace and West Brom. You're never expecting mass amounts at this sort of value anyway. He's a really interesting one to keep an eye on, because on what I saw at the weekend, and admittedly it was a Sheffield United, actually they'll add some attacking output now, Fulham, and you're never expecting much at 6.5. I would feel more encouraged about him than I'd have felt about Robinson at West Brom, even if they hadn't bought Grant, and even though he was playing up front. That makes sense.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Jack Robinson. You Callum Robinson at West Brom.
Correct, thank you. Who's 6.2. Obviously, Grant's in the team now, so that's off the table. He's interesting, Lookman.
Yeah,
honestly, 6.5.
We are always looking for these kind of cheap
He's the sort of one
players.
as well. He hit shots here at the weekend. He's the sort of one as well. When he plays well, do you know what? He might gravitate towards the man of match. He's a dribbler. He likes to go at people. As you see from the goal at the weekend, doesn't mind hitting the thing left or right foot. He's had a difficult spell. He broke on the scene at Everton, bought from Charlton, and looked like he was going to be a super talent. Obviously, Leipzig invested in him, which a lot of German clubs are doing in young English players. Didn't work out brilliantly for him. Now he's back. He's above that level, in my opinion. So he's just a really interesting one to keep an eye on at 6.5. I'm not suggesting that anybody buys him in replacement for Antonio. But you know what? Oddly enough, if I had to make that move this week, I would strongly think about Lookman and then reassess in a couple of weeks.
FPL Wilson's asking about best VVD replacements. Do you go to Robbo instead, or look at other alternatives like Ruben Diaz, or downgrade further to very cheap like Konsa and upgrade them somewhere else? The answer is all of them, really, isn't it? It's like there's no wrong or right in this situation. If you move across to Robertson, I mean, he's been playing so well, and Liverpool is still good defensively, and it gives you that coverage if you spread your players across 11 teams or 10 teams. If you downgrade, I mean, the likes of Ruben Diaz or Gabriel that we talked about are also still decent options, or go all the way down to Konsa and turn an Antonio into a Bruno Fernandes. Like, they're all the right answer in this situation. You've got to pick one.
I feel, as I've said, it's important for me to keep some of that money in the defensive shape of this team. Otherwise, I'm making 2 transfers to fix it.
It's hard to get back. And
I'm kind of conscious that to be honest, I very nearly started with Laporte as well. I could have started with Laporte and Van Dijk, which would have been
difficulties. Sounds like
I need to keep some of the money back there. I'm convinced of that. And because a lot of you've got guys in there like Grealish, Antonio, James Rodriguez, they're all very accessible. Pulisic, 9.1. They're all really accessible. Calvert-Lewin, Maupay.
Yep.
They're all decent prices. So I feel some of the money can remain at the back.
Rob Pick, when should I abandon the gamble I took on Patrick Van Arnholt? If he doesn't play this Saturday, should I have bought a move Sunday, Monday defender? I don't know about that.
Really tough. I can absolutely see why Rob took that gamble, and I think it's reasonable. Because if you'd got the benefit of it, and then you're walking into Brighton, Fulham, and other decent fixtures, we spoke about Palace's good run, sustained in terms of potential defensive returns. Really tough one. I expect him to come back in, is the short of it.
Yeah, I would. Eventually, he is going to get back in. If it's not this week, then it's definitely going to be the week after. Defensively, Palace have good shape. I'd probably ride it out for a couple more weeks and not waste a transfer on it. And
so
if he doesn't play next week,
that's a really tough one, because you've obviously taken a gamble from the Overhaul, and generally I think it's fine. It's not a risk I'd have taken, but I think it's fine. If he doesn't play against Fulham, you'd think that's a nice game to ease him back in, right?
Yeah.
And then do you wait the next week? I would suggest that you're probably better off waiting one more, because then you've got the Friday night game at Wolves. And then if he doesn't play at Wolves, then you need to abort.
Then I think abort
Yeah.
would be what I would do as well. Hornet at SkyFF Hornet, what planned transfers have you got? I guess some of us will need a City player in, and then look at getting Bruno when their fixtures turn for United. Have you got any planned transfers? I have none.
So Jimenez to De Bruyne is the current idea after that Wolves Palace fixture, and then we can't plan too far ahead because we don't know the TV fixtures, right? But my plan following Tottenham at West Brom, and it's awkward because they play on the Sunday. What I'm kind of hoping is in game week 9, match day 9, FPL if you want to call it speak. I'm kind of hoping that Tottenham Man City's the Saturday and Liverpool are on the Sunday. That's kind of what I want, to then shove Kane into Salah and Son into something else. That's where I want to be. Otherwise, I might even accept that I'm going to lose the gain of fixture, because I don't want to walk into what Tottenham walk into after West Brom in match day 8 of City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Palace, Liverpool, Leicester, Wolves up until before playing Fulham on the 28th of December. I don't want Kane and Son. I don't think. No. But to be honest, if they keep going off, it's going to be difficult to get to that period and accept that I need to move one. But I don't even see where I'd want to captain those boys that often following the West Brom fixture. So definitely one's going to move. I want to. I'm probably going to end up shoving Kane to Salah and Son to something else.
And have none.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Wow.
And then go back to it at the end of December.
Well, Dan Footy Dan says, Aguero is Aguero. Is he worth the money in Sky? Is he likely to hit any tiers as well as putting the ball in the back of the net?
Well, if he hits the back of the net, he'll hit tiers, won't he?
Well,
if he gets 2 goals, that's shot tier 1. If he gets 3 goals, that's shot tier 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, Sergio's a predator. I would say that De Bruyne being absent is not good, to be honest, for all of City's attackers in terms of their potential output. I can understand for those who got Van Dijk, and if you get news that Antonio's out and want to shove the funds about, and for whatever reason you've only got 2 up front, I think a lot of things need to come together here for you to put Aguero in. Would you sell a Jimenez if you could before you've got the captaincy on Friday night? No, I wouldn't. That would be daft, for example. Are you going to move a Kane or a Son or a Calvert-Lewin or any of these guys to Aguero? No, you're not. The reality is...
I prefer Sterling to Aguero.
That's fine. The reality is at the moment, the only people that really should be thinking about transfers right now is the guys who've got injuries. To replace Van Dijk and stuff. Yeah. If that means making 2 transfers to fix that problem, fine. There's no issue with that. I've seen a few people saying, "Oh, they're 2-3 ones we can gain and stuff like that." And the thing is, like, you had the benefit of the overhaul. The plan should have been really for at least the 3 weeks to kind of have the idea of I don't want to make any transfers until it opens up in that 3rd weekend. So, nah.
Agreed.
Question.
Yes. I'm looking and I'm going to skip all of the Virgil van Dijk questions that we've had about Liverpool defence because we have spoken about them. Phantomantles comes up with another cheap alternative that might be decent. We know that Soyuncu's out for a little while now.
Fofana.
Thoughts on Fofana at 6.1? Do you expect him to be a bit longer term than Justin at 6.3 despite Pereira's setback, for example?
Well, in short, I would go Concert over Fofana. They're exactly the same price.
Yeah.
Leicester's next 4 are Arsenal, Leeds, Wolves, Liverpool. And I would hope that after that, when they walk into Fulham, Sheffield United, Brighton is a nice 3, that we'll know where we stand with Ricardo Pereira and what that's going to be. Interestingly, Pereira's obviously he's a don in this game, right, in terms of what he's capable of doing.
Yeah, definitely.
We don't really know where he's going to play positionally. We don't know the impact on Castagne and James Justin. But these guys are so much cheaper than Pereira, right? So I can see the appeal of, if I need some Leicester coverage, I just feel like timing-wise, that's not right. That's one to come back to when you walk into another issue. So 6.1, great. Played well on Sunday for a debut, didn't do too badly at all. The next 4 are a dog. I feel like they've got too many injuries in the team at the moment, with Ndidi's another one they're really missing. So it would be a no for me at the moment. Revisit after they play Liverpool.
Yep. FPL Darbs through to round 2 of the Cup with both teams. When is it worth choosing which one to kind of hold your transfers back for.
Oh,
I think it's so early.
Like the end of December or something.
Exactly. My second
January
team
maybe even.
got knocked out 121 to 113, unfortunately. But my first team went through. The team I played against scored a massive 62 points. So
you've luck of the draw.
There you go.
You can't plan with this cup at the moment because you got to think as well. There's so many guys who are dropping off and spending 5 transfers every week. There's a good chance they're going to beat you, right? So don't waste any transfers thinking about cup at the moment.
When do you think the next set of fixtures will be out? That's from Peter Brown.
In the next 8 to 9 days, I would say. I wouldn't be surprised if it's before this weekend.
Yeah.
But I suspect probably the back end of next week is probably more likely.
Do you think it's worth moving off Jack Grealish for a 2-for-1 on Friday night or save the transfer?
Nah. Why would you come off?
Yeah, it's too early to be jumping around from that kind of point of view.
So just think of it like this, kind of what I said. So did you get Jack Grealish in for Leicester away, presumably no captaincy, and then Leeds at home captaincy, and now you want to come immediately off when we know that actually following that Southampton, Arsenal, Brighton, West Ham, Newcastle, Wolves, Burnley, West Brom, Palace takes us up to the end of the year. I don't think I'm moving someone who's so consistent at that price.
No.
Unless he gets injured or if his returns really fall off. He is in outstanding form at the moment. So no, I don't think it would be worth it. Are there massive gains? When do Villa play the following week? When they play Southampton, it's a Sunday lunchtime, is it? I think. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of teams that you could get a 2-game gain on. Unless it's something that's going to add seriously to your captaincy, no, for me.
Yeah. And last but not least, I'm going to leave the last comment of the show, James, to Sky FF Weasel. You put me off picking Gabriel as you said he wouldn't get any passing bonus. Not impressed, James. So, you know.
That's absolutely fine. I didn't say he wouldn't. I said you got to understand where those passing tiers come from. Now,
Correct.
As I've already said, now that it's come against Man City, we go, that's interesting. He's the best defensive option in and around that value. That's definite now. But again, it's sticky run of fixtures. If that's your replacement for Van Dijk, I think it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good.
If that's what you want to do.
8 million. I don't think it's a bad shout. So yeah, I may even end up with Gabriel as my
He also wouldn't be haunted with that. Like, say if I decided to go to Consa, I would be beating myself that I didn't buy him on Sunday. I've missed out on a clean sheet away to Leicester. I've missed something. There's points that I could have had there basically for free. That would haunt me. So I think now...
Did you know that Van Dijk was going to be out for as long as he was?
Oh, it was pretty clear that he wasn't going to be playing anytime soon. Even
true.
The good news on it for him would have been like, you're out for a month or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So whatever it was, he was getting transferred out.
Yeah.
So yes, I strongly thought about it. I don't think any of us... Just the fact that he came off against Everton was enough. There were reports Saturday night, early Sunday, suggesting, look, this is bad. So it wasn't going to be... Put it this way, it wasn't going to be, he was going to be back this week. So yes, I strongly thought about the likes of Conser, etc. I think now, if I made that decision for Conser now, I'd want to eat myself for it. So yeah, I'd only be considering Gabriel can go onto the list because he played on Saturday. Robertson obviously played Saturday. They can go on the list. So you basically rule out for me the Sunday, Monday guys. Anyone who played Sunday, Monday, I wouldn't consider their options now. But for me anyway, Robertson's the best choice for me.
Yeah, there we go. That's a rundown of Sky. As always, at this early stage in the season, everyone's keeping their powder dry, not making too many transfers. And of course, we don't know what's happening with the next lot of fixtures as well. So we need to wait for them to come out and we can start planning a little bit longer term.
Nice and calm. Sort out your Van Dijk plans if you've got him and move on.
Yeah.
Good luck this weekend.
I don't think I know what I'm going to do. I'm definitely going to wait until after the rest of the European games to just make sure that there's no injuries, like Harry Kane getting injured on Thursday night or any of that kind of stuff.
Don't be making Sky transfers midweek, guys. Come on.
Yeah. So obviously don't forget there is some European football still to be played this week. So you may have other injury problems. Touch wood, we don't have to deal with any of those kind of situations. And we'll be back at you next week post game week 7 in Sky or whatever it may be.
Just match week 6.
Yes, there we go. Good luck to you all. Wherever you are, stay safe. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck. Cue music, please, man child. I nearly forgot.